Let you know when we live. We are live now. So I want to welcome everybody to Sunday Night Live. I mean, to say that we have a treat isn't enough, man. We got a whole entire dessert. All right, we got Mr. Kevin Grevioux. I mean, you guys have seen him on Underworld. I mean, that's the first time. You guys have seen him on Star Trek. You guys have seen him in Man in Black. I mean, his resume goes on and on and on and on. And not just with his acting career, but as well as in the comic world. We talk about Blue Marvel literally every week to every day, and we do fan casting on Blue Marvel almost every day. So I just want to just welcome Mr. Kevin Grevioux into our space, man. Appreciate you for coming in, man. Appreciate you.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
So, I mean, we kind of talked about a couple seconds ago a little bit about your background, but the folks didn't get a chance to hear it. So, can you just give us a little walkthrough about where you come from? I definitely make sure you put in there, talk about HU, man. So so make sure you put it in there. Let everybody know what.
Whoa. Okay. So are you Bison or what?
Oh, I'm not Bison, but I have to respect.
Oh, okay.
I respect.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, you know the way it went, man. I was a normal kid like everybody else, man. You know, growing up, grew up all over the country. My parents moved around a lot. And so, I was born in Chicago, grew up in Minneapolis, and then my father moved the family to Boston for a couple of years while he and my mother went to Harvard. Then we settled in New Jersey. And finally, or lastly, growing up, I lived in Oakland for 10 months, my senior year in high school, before I, then went to DC to go to Howard University. And I stayed there for 10 years. And then once I was, finding myself and all that, graduated, I came out to LA to pursue, what, was a dream, of mine to be a creator. And that's where I am right now. So, I was a microbiology major in college. I had no real designs to go into the film industry and definitely not the comic book industry. One of my biggest regrets is that I gave up my artwork back in school, back in grade school. And I should never have done that. I should have kept going. But, that wasn't something that I thought was open to us, as Black people back then. And I didn't even know there were Black people in the comic book industry until Marvel had this magazine called Foom. And in there, they had a list of the pictures of the bullpen members. And 3 of them were Black, Billy Graham, Keith Pollard, and Ron Wilson. And I had no idea, and I was intimately familiar with their work. A lot of people don't know this, but, you might not have a lot of brothers on the top books right now. But, Keith Pollard had extensive runs on the Fantastic Four, Thor. I think he did some Spider-Man books and some Captain America books as well. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And, Ron Wilson had a really long run on Marvel 2-in-1 and, The Thing. So that was really something to look at. And there were no Black writers, and, now there are more, but not many more, if you really think about it, But yeah, so I was, majoring in microbiology. And I think I was influenced by Spike Lee, because in '86 he came out with She's Gotta Have It. And I had no idea, once again, that there were even people who were, Blacks who were pursuing, being a director, at that time. And I had heard of a few, if you, look at movies, Blaxploitation movies and the like. But that made me look at what was going to be my career completely differently. So, it was too late for me to change my major because I was in my senior year. And so it was like, okay, so what do I do? So when I got to grad school, I was studying genetic engineering, and I decided, you know what, let me congruently take television and film courses. And, you know, I didn't even last the semester before I realized that I'm getting into film and that's it, you know. So now it was about, how do I go about doing that? And there was no one for me to really talk to about it, you know, no mentors. I mean, you know, at Howard at the time, I didn't know not one film major, one. And so there was no one to talk to. And, you know, I was a genre guy, and there weren't that many people that I knew of at all who were even into the things I was into, like science fiction, fantasy, comic books, you know, action adventure on that level, let alone creating it. So I was pretty much an island unto myself, and I just took the chance and moved out to California, you know, and tried my hand at it, and, you know, see where the chips fell. You know, that was essentially it.
Man, for you, but God, look how many people get out to California and have to bail out, and you are one of the few people that went out there. You probably, you know, I'm pretty sure you got a struggle, sir. We all had to struggle, or had to do some things.
Oh yeah.
But look what you were able to accomplish, man. Like Hollywood and going and getting into Marvel, DC,
yeah.
even being independent is so difficult. Even to this day,
yeah.
I mean, you guys are just still a handful of Black creatives out there in these spaces. But, you know, I think the thing that stands out most to me is you were an island unto yourself. There wasn't a bunch of, it wasn't like it is today where you can get on social media, you're so connected. There's other Black people that are trying to do it. And so you kind of get motivated like that. You literally was at Howard, you literally came to California, you almost kind of felt alone, but you had a vision to kind of press through, man. And that's amazing. I know we also mentioned about your parents went to Harvard. To be Black back in those days to go to Harvard was amazing, astonishing. And then, I remember my parents even telling me, like, they're not going to support and back you to do something if they don't see other people that look like you that's doing it as well. Like you had something that you better have it ready to go, and you have, it's basically you have to bring a proposal to them and show them why this is going to be.
And you know, the thing is, you know, and this goes for the largest society, you know, like I know white kids too that I grew up with who parents looked at them sideways if they ever wanted to do something creative. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, I think that, you know, if you're Black, Hispanic, or Asian, I think we listen to our parents well into our 30s. That's how much of an influence they have on our lives. And it's only out of respect. And that's not to say that white kids don't respect their parents. But I think the way their culture works is that at a certain age, you know, when you can break the rules, you know what I'm saying? And do what you want to do. And they might tell you no, but you go ahead and do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Where for us, it's not really like that. You know, they're always going to have a strong influence, you know, on us. And there's nothing really wrong with that. It's just that you have to have the intestinal fortitude enough to say, you know what, I'm going to go in this direction. And like I said, whatever the consequences are, I'll be willing to face them, whether they're, you know, fiduciary or social, you know, or whatever. You know, you just have to go ahead and do it, because I did know people who tried to get into the various industries that I was able to be a part of. But, you know, they always came back home, boomeranged back home. And the stories they tell are intimidating. It makes you say, like, man, you know, am I taking a chance? I mean, is it that difficult? And the answer is yes. But I will tell you, it's not brain surgery. You know what I'm saying? It can be accomplished. You know, you just have to go for it and see what happens. Like, it was funny. I'm a big football fan. So, you know, one of the things that they were saying about Russell Wilson, that he was recounting, is that his father told him, you know, because he was an undersized quarterback at like, what, 5'10", you know, maybe 5'11". Yeah. And they told him, his father told him, well, Russ, why not you? I mean, somebody has to be the quarterback, right? Somebody has to win the Super Bowl. So why can't it be you? You know? And so my thing was, hey, look, looking at it from that perspective, why not? You know, and I went ahead and did it. And, you know, you start to see that a lot of making it in whatever particular discipline is not only your talent, but it's really who you know and how long you're willing to stick it out too. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of cats give up prematurely. And, you know, I had this envision, you know, I envisioned this, you know, this scenario where, you know, here I am banging my head against the wall, banging it. And then I say, you know what? It's not going to happen. And I walk away and some cat comes behind me and accidentally leans on the part of the wall that I was, you know, trying to bang open with my head, and it falls open. All I had to do is stay there and hit it one more time. And that's the way you have to look at it. You know, you have to hit it one more time. And, you know, like, you just have to go for it, man. And I don't think that's really too much to ask. It's just that you have to be prepared. You know, it's like that movie, what was it? I think it was The Untouchables, you know, with Sean Connery and Kevin Costner. You know, when pursuing Al Capone, you know, he was telling Kevin Costner's character, Elliot Ness, what are you prepared to do? You see what I'm saying? And if your heart ain't right, if your heart ain't right, you know, it ain't gonna happen. You know,
I work with the Boys and Girls Club, work with the kids every day, and I try to set good goals for them, but at the same time, I always tell them you need to count up the cost.
Yeah.
And kind of like what you were talking about is you have to be willing to put in the work, and you got to be willing to make the sacrifice, regardless if you win, lose, or draw. You got to be willing to do. You know, you have to have a vision so that you can win, but ultimately you need to count up the cost. Like, what is it going to cost you? And say, you know what, I'm going to pursue it, but just don't go out there blindly and just say, just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, see if it sticks. But just be willing to put in the work and stuff. So,
yeah.
I'm gonna pass over to Richard, man. Richard.
Yeah.
Mr. Grevioux, I got a couple. All right, got a couple questions for you. Do you remember the first comic book you read that just kind of blew your mind, that set you on this path that you're on now as far as a comic book writer?
Ooh, brother, that's a tough one. And the reason why it's a tough one is because I had read a few comic books before I actually started collecting and it became a hobby. So, I'm in my 50s now. So like most boys who grew up in the, 70s, before I was, 11, maybe I could put my hands on like 20 books, but they really didn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just like something else to read. But I had a friend of mine who was in the neighborhood when we moved to New Jersey. It was Franklin Township, New Jersey, actually. And he lent me one of his comic books. And I'm like, okay, cool story. It was I think it was an EC Comics reprint. But then about a year later, my brother, he got a hold, he decided to buy a couple. And I looked at his and I'm like, well, wait a minute now. These things are cool. You know what I'm saying? And I think he bought a couple of Fantastic Fours. And I remember the Fantastic Four from the old TV show from 1967. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at that. Yeah. And that started, I said, yeah, man, that's the Rock Man. Everyone just call him the Rock Man. Yeah. So I call him the Rock Man. And he used to say it's clobbering time all the time. So that's what I really remember, as far as getting me really into the hobby. And then from there, I just started buying, comic books in like the old comic book stores or shops that I used to go to. They didn't sell new comics. They sold back issues. Now, they might have been recent back issues, meaning about 6 months to a year on back. But dude, they were only 35, cents a piece. So, you walk in with, $3, you could load up and still have money left for chips and pop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what I did. So,
Don't do
but
that.
if you really want to talk about, say it again.
I said definitely can't do that now.
Oh no. But I will tell you what did work. Since you mentioned it.
Take your time. We got all the time in the world.
Okay. I will show you something.
That's what's up.
Do I need to put on my glasses, man? This is gonna blow my mind. Oh,
Right here.
Treasury edition,
Yeah.
baby. It's nice.
Yeah. These treasury editions were a big help because I remember we were in Chicago one summer and my grandfather took us to the newsstand. And, I wanted to go so I get some comic books, but I saw these things. Mm-hmm. And I think I got that one, that one, and the Fantastic Four one. Dude, it had all these stories, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I want more of these. And so got some more treasury editions, and that's what really kickstarted, my comics. Yeah, the bicentennial one, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And that was it, dude. I mean, so.
Yeah, so let me ask you this: who's your favorite character? Who's your guy?
My favorite. Okay, I'm gonna answer this in two ways. So my favorite title growing up was the Fantastic Four. Okay. My favorite character was the Hulk. Yeah.
Okay.
That was my favorite. Those are my guys. Good. And then after that, if you look at titles, I liked the Avengers next, and then Thor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you was a collector. So what we working with? What we talking? We talking how many long boxes?
I think I had 35.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think I had 35 long boxes. But, my collecting has kind of, I got rid of some. I got rid of one box through trades. I swapped them for, a bunch of omnibuses. And in there was Avengers 1, Hulk 2, some ones like that. Not a whole lot of keys. Okay. But, there was some gems in that bad boy. But I also used to give some of my more recent ones, like from the 90s. I used to go to the children's hospital and used to give those to the kids, only because, like, as a kid, I had asthma and I'd been hospitalized a couple of times. And they would come by and they would bring by comic books. So I thought that, it'd be cool if the kids had something to read, while they're convalescing, things like that. So, but yeah, man, it was like about 35 long boxes. That's it's whittled down some now, but I still have a lot.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let me ask you this.
Sorry.
Given you've been writing comics for a while, and you have written a lot of different things, and so whether it's the Underworld stuff, Blue Marvel, to Bash Reeves. So I'm just curious, what's your favorite genre? Do you think that you love to write in, or do you find pleasure in all of it?
I pretty much find pleasure in all of them, but I will tell you that the superhero genre is what I like the most, because I think that it's the easiest way to tell cinematic type of stories. You know what I'm saying? Yes, because superheroes, you're pushing what humans can do to the nth degree. You know what I'm saying? And you can only do that in comic books. Now they're able to do it in movies a lot better. But yeah, man, that to me is really where it's at. So I will always love superheroes,
Okay, Paul, what about you, bro? You would ask the brother some questions.
All right. So, as I said before, your name comes up a lot on this page, and Richard mentioned, probably the most prevalent character of yours that comes up, which is the Blue Marvel. As the writer and creator of that character, what direction? I mean, that one was 5 issues, and I know that you wrote sort of his introduction into the Marvel 616 universe again with Age of Heroes.
Yeah.
And he's had a runs in like the Ultimates and stuff like that. What direction would you like to see the character go or be explored in the future in the Marvel comics?
Dude, that's a difficult question. The reason why it's difficult, because if I tell you, then Marvel will take the idea and they'll hire someone else to do it. And that's happened. Yeah. And that's already happened a couple of times when I pitched
Really? Oh,
Blue Marvel series. Yeah. So I'm very hesitant to say. My only thing is, I will say I want him to be kind of like a hero of heroes. You know what I'm saying? I don't want him to be. I want to be able to push the envelope with what they have not done with Black heroes before, singularly.
I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, when I created the Blue Marvel, before I created the Blue Marvel, there were no, if I can say this term, Omega level superheroes, Black superheroes, you know what I'm saying? And you're talking about in what? 83 years. At the time it was more like 73 years, but 73 years of comic book history. And I'm like, come on now, And, there weren't that many created by Black creators. So I wanted to do something different and throw my hat into the ring. So there is a lot of ground to be covered with the character like the Blue Marvel. The thing is, are they going to allow it to be done? And who is going to control that character? And, truth be told, man, once you give it up, give up the ghost, so to speak, it's like you have to listen or adhere to what their publishing plan is. And it might be antithetical to what you think or what the character should be doing, And so, but that's just the way it is, I mean, these are the way comic books are done.
I give you a lot of credit, beyond a lot of credit, for how you did the character, because here it is, his introduction in your book. This brother takes on the entire Avengers. And we're talking Iron Man, Sentry,
Wonder Man.
These are heavy hitter guys.
Oh yeah.
And he wipes the floor with all of them, right? Yeah. Goes toe to toe with Sentry, knocks dude out into orbit, right?
Makes him bleed.
Makes him bleed.
Bloody that nose.
You understand? At this time in comic books, and look, excuse me if I start geeking out and getting fanboy on you, but at this time in comics, Sentry was the dude, right? He was this blonde Superman, blonde hair, blue-eyed Superman Marvel version, and you have him knock this dude out into orbit. That was like unprecedented and unexpected. And then towards the end of the run, you got him speaking to Namor showing his respect to him, and I could tell that it was all sort of intentional, right?
Yes.
Like you had him go up against the biggest guys in the Marvel universe and have them all recognize his power level. You had him speak to Reed Richards and have Reed Richards surprised that he understood, theoretical physics on the same level that he did.
Exactly.
You established an unprecedented character in the Marvel universe.
Well, one of the reasons I did that too is because a lot of people make mention of the fact that, the Black Panther is a scientist too.
Yeah.
But you realize we've never seen him in the laboratory.
Yeah.
I think he was in a laboratory maybe 3 times. The first time he was shown in the laboratory was in, I think it was Avengers 87, where they did a kind of like retooling or retelling of his origin. Mm-hmm. And he was in college, because I think he went to Oxford or something. Yeah. So he was a student wearing a lab coat. Other than that, he just happened to be standing in a panel with the Avengers when they were trying to discern the nature of Wonder Man's powers. I think in, what was it, might have been one of their early Avengers issues, like 161, 160, I think it was 162, something like that. And then I think in the Death of Captain Marvel, he was also part of the scientific team that was trying to figure out, what they're going, how to stop the cancer that was ravaging Marvel's body. But other than that, we really never saw him do anything, particularly scientific. So my thing was, well, we're going to see a brother do that now. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have a guy who is, smart, lets everyone know it, and does his thing.
Yeah.
But is not pretentious about it. He's just doing what he's always done because that's the way it is. I mean, I was a scientist. You know what I'm saying? It's no big deal. I worked in a laboratory, no big deal. I played football. So I had Adam Bashir play football too. So he was really kind of like an extension of my life, what I had done, and also what I would like to do in a fantasy type kind of setting. So, that wasn't very difficult. It's just hard for others to see that we can play in this sandbox too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's going to take us to really do that.
Right. And you mentioned about the characters he takes on in terms of the brains and the brawn. You got him working with Reed Richards. You got him working with Tony Stark. You have him knock out Sentry. In the next book, Age of Heroes, you have him knock out Hyperion.
Yeah. You
basically said, look, bring all the heaviest hitters that Marvel's got, and I'm gonna have my boy knock them all out. And that's what you did. I don't honestly. One of the questions I want to ask you: how did you get away with that? Like, how did you get Joe Quesada and them to allow you to have you knock their boy out with this unknown dude?
Man, I don't think I'm not sure.
Did you slip under the radar?
You know what, man? That I can't tell you. It's not like they don't read everything. In fact, when I told people I was doing this series, a lot of brothers in the industry were saying, wait a minute, Marvel's letting you tell that story?
Yeah.
Because apparently they kind of felt that Marvel would never do that. And so I have to, I'm going to give a shout to Joe Quesada and Tom Rabord for, greenlighting the project. And they had the scripts beforehand, and letting me do that. And, I really don't think, they editors do what they do when it comes to, setting up guardrails and letting you run. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes there will be some pushback. Like initially, I did not want the Blue Marvel to look like an older man, and I was kind of misreading maybe what they were trying to tell me, but maybe they could not articulate what they actually wanted. They just knew that they did not want him to appear to be, young. Yeah. And at first I was thinking that was emasculating. But when I dug a little deeper, I said, okay, so what if I make him look, like in his 40s, even though he might be in his 90s? Like, oh, that's perfect. And I'm like, but all that is coloring his temples gray, but I was afraid of that though. Okay. And the reason why I was afraid of that is because, look, let's just say a lot of artists traditionally don't know how to draw black faces. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And because of his color scheme, which was blue and white, the fear was they were going to eventually draw him to look like a chocolate-covered Reed Richards. And unfortunately, like if you look at some images of him, that's almost what he looks like. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, I knew it. But exactly. But you know what? I couldn't say anything because even as a creator, there are still a myriad of politics that you have to navigate, in this industry. So you're not labeled a troublemaker or difficult or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, I capitulated, but it's all good. it worked out. So I'm not, that upset about it.
I'm going to ask you a question that one of my boys, Mark, who I do a live with on Fridays, would probably want me to ask you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask that question. We had this WandaVision show, a few months ago, and on that show there was this reference because Monica Rambeau's on there, and as I'm sure you know, Monica Rambeau is in a relationship with Blue Marvel in the comic books at this time. And she makes reference to, I got the scientist buddy I want to come help me with the situation. That whole, the weeks following, the internet blew up. Our page blew up about they're bringing Adam Brashear on the show.
Right.
So we were all disappointed that didn't happen.
Right.
I'm not going to ask you the question I want to ask you, which is, what do you know about him coming into the MCU? Because I know you probably, even if you did know, you probably disappear once you said anything. So I'm not going to ask you that question.
Okay.
But you personally, if you could cast someone to be Adam Brashear in the MCU, who would you select?
You know what? That's a tough one because there are a lot of things to consider. If you're talking about just looking at a cat and saying, he's Blue Marvel, the guy I think I looked at was, in terms of stature and just overall presence, was Dennis Haysbert.
Oh,
because I think that cat is a solid 6'5", 6'6".
Yes, sir.
Prodigiously intelligent. Has a strong, heavy voice, like I like. You know what I'm saying? And I like that. You see, and that's how I saw Adam Brashear, just like that. But you have to look at, if you're going to be serious about it, because of who Adam Brashear is now, and because of the fact that the Black Panther, well, I should say, Chadwick Boseman is no longer with us, God rest his soul, who is going to step in the gap as that premier or quintessential Black superhero in the Marvel Universe?
Yeah.
And so I see it being Adam Brashear, but now if that's the case, who do they have to get in order to sell it? So now I'm thinking, would it be Denzel? But then you have to say, would Denzel do something like that? Because they probably won't pay him $20 million to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then you look at guys like, I like that. I used to like that guy. Oh man.
What he playing?
Aldous Hodge.
Yes, yeah.
Aldous Hodge. But he's been commandeered by Warner Brothers now, okay, in DC. Then you look at, Yahya, I can't remember Yahya's last name.
Mateen, I think.
Mateen, yeah. I like him as well, So, man, there are guys, and then, do you hire an unknown? And here's the thing too. You have to be careful with the age because, he has to be able to play that role for 10 years or so.
Exactly.
So you want someone who's not old, who's going to look older, but someone who's young, who can grow into the role. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the younger, perhaps, the better. But I do know that I am a stickler for stature, and, voice delivery, things like that. Someone who you can see as a prodigious scientist, but will whoop your behind if it comes down to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why I wrote Brashear like I did, not only in the miniseries, but in that short issue. I think it was I can't remember what book it was for, but he fought King Hyperion. And King Hyperion was like, hey, look, I've beaten you before on other worlds. I've beaten Thor's, Hulk, Sentries. They're all dead. It's like, you ain't fought this one yet. And it's a different story. And it was.
Yeah.
I got one last question for you. One last question for you.
Yeah.
Who wins in a fight? Celine or Blade?
You know what, man? I'm going to say Blade.
Blade.
I'm going to say Blade. Yeah, and the reason I say Blade is because he's more of a fighter, and Celine did some things that in subsequent movies that I disagreed with, but I had no power at that point. You could make an argument that Celine would be the victor because she can move at super speed, but I don't like vampires with super speed. That makes them unbeatable. And then the way they introduced it in the second movie, where if she can move that fast, when I met her in the first movie, why didn't she just zip, move at super speed and bam, one in the back of my head? But she actually ran from me. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah. So, it would be one of these things where it would come down to, their weapons were effectual against one another, I think, because they would both be so prodigious fighters. But we can tell, just looking at the way they handle themselves on screen, the Blade would be the victor. You know what I'm saying? But I do have a soft spot in my heart for Celine. So.
The debate is settled, everybody out there. The debate is settled.
So one of the things I don't want to just stick a pin in Blue Marble for too long.
Yeah.
But he is one of the characters that you created that is just unbelievable. Do you realize how much? I was gonna skip right. You don't realize how much that book is going for right now to try to buy that book right now?
Yeah, and I think that's my fault. And I'll tell you why.
I gotta
listen to this part.
I'll
tell you why. So what happened, unfortunately, I bought probably 100 #1 issues when it first came out. I should have bought 300, but I bought 100. And, I had them on the ground in a long box in my garage, but it was on the floor. And we had a flood in our garage.
Don't say anything else.
And I lost probably 75 of them to water damage.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And along with some other precious stuff, comic books as well. Nothing from nothing from the 60s or the 70s, because they were bagged and boarded anyway. But, some of my own independent books and my Blue Marvels. And I was furious. So what I did is I went on a tear and tried to buy every Blue Marvel trade paperback or #1 issue I could find online. And I think what happened is that triggered some kind of algorithm. It caused people to start saying, wait, why are these things disappearing? Who's buying these? And they just started snatching them up. That's what I really think happened, because, the series didn't sell that well. Like, if you guys remember, on the first issue, it says it's going to be a 6-issue miniseries.
That's the mystery.
Yeah.
That's the mystery.
Yeah. And then it turned out to be 5. Exactly. And then it turned into 5. Well, what happened? I got a call from one of the editors that, Kevin, no easy way to say this. We're going to cut it down to 5 issues because it's not selling very well. And I'm like, man, are you kidding me? It's like, how am I going to fit the rest of the story in? And so I asked them pointedly, can you at least make the final issue double size? And they said, yeah. So in reality, I was only missing 6 pages from my original story,
okay.
And if you guys want to know a secret, I'll tell you what I was going to do with those 6 pages.
Exclusive.
Yeah. What I was going to do is have a little section where the Russians, knowing what America had done to the Blue Marble and made him retire, they were going to make a play for him and approached him as saying, look, land of the free, home of the brave. Who come work for us? We treat you right. And, you know, he was like, as much as I am upset at my country for doing this, you know, I'm still in America. Red, white, and blue, baby. That's what it is.
Yeah.
This is where my people were born, where we live, and where we die. You know, so, you know, but I thought it would have been a nice bit. You see what I'm saying? And, you know, I didn't get a chance to do this. But, you know, so what? You know, I was still happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
The mystery of the missing 6 pages.
Exactly.
Because I remember, I'm thinking like, wait a minute, it says 1 of 6. And I looked at my book and said, well, it's only 5 issues. I'm like, well, maybe the 6th one had a super low print run or something. Didn't exist.
Yeah.
Probably not a mission solved. Last little thing I wanted to say about Blue Marvel, I think is very, very important. There aren't hardly any superheroes, prominent superheroes that wear capes. And I can probably only think about 3 or 4 that are Black that wear capes. Capes for me are it's something special because they are a sign of authority. Because not everybody on the team, I know for sure doesn't have a cape anymore, but I thought that was strong. And as well, you know, you kind of can fall into the Superman trope. But I've never ever heard anybody say a Black Superman when it came to him. Just how you set him up to be, and just how he came out of the box. He was something totally different, but he could tell you, but you could tell he was his own man, stand alone. I don't need to be a part of a team. You guys can come be a part of my team. I'm my own guy. And I appreciated that so much. I'm a Cape and Cow guy. So when you were like, hey, I'm probably more superhero leaning, I was like this in the background. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you even mentioned that in the story because you had the wife talk about they took away your mask and your cape. The significance of them taking away the cape.
Yeah, you know, exactly. And, you know, she made a new costume for him. And unfortunately, you know, we weren't sure what we were going to do. I did more of it when I did the short books or the short stories. But, you know, I had a whole universe set up for him, you know, that I wanted to do. And I've just been waiting to do it. And, you know, I've been told no for whatever reason. But, you know, once again, that's just the way it goes with corporate comics. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have to do your own thing because they're always going to do that, you know, and it's just the way, you know, the way it is.
Well, speaking about doing your own thing, and even before I get into that, I'll be remiss. The creator of this space and Black Superheroes Forever, well, the co-creator is Jay Napoleon. Shout out to Jay. He's the reason why he got me started into all of this stuff. But he asked, I don't know how serious we can take this, but he says, Brother Grevioux, he's a frat brother. Brother Grevioux, my wife just asked if you are available to do a story time with our 3-year-old daughter. So, you don't have to hit him up in the message to work that out.
There have been several comments on this that no one believes that that's your real voice.
Yeah, it has been several comments about that.
Really? Yeah. You know what? A lot of people have asked that or said things like that, and I thought that was puzzling. I remember I was reading the comments section on some message board on IMDb, and someone said, don't be ridiculous. That is not his real voice. They use CGI enhancement or something enhancement. No one talks like that. I'm like, why would they enhance someone's voice for a werewolf movie? You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I've heard it all before. So, you know, I'm used to it.
Gotcha. Well, I want to kind of jump back in. We don't want to keep you long because it's getting late. It's getting almost 9:30 Eastern time. But
don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. That's what we do. We usually stay up late. Well, I don't.
Yeah.
So, anyways, you talked about doing your own thing, and you actually have your own comic book company. You actually got your comic book characters, and they're actually already out. So can you tell us a little bit about your company and your comic, and then we definitely gonna leave a link in the description so folks can head on over there.
Yeah. Well,
how you got started?
Okay, well, the thing is, I got started. There was this company called Alias years ago. And, after Underworld, and this is the weird part about the comic book industry that I still, to this day, do not understand. Why is it so difficult to get into an industry in which there is no money? And it was easier for me to break into Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And, one reason is because the industry is, just oppressively incestuous, for everyone, and it's ridiculous that it works that way. But after Underworld, I met a buddy of mine. His name is Scott Sava, and he actually did this movie that's on Netflix right now called Animal Crackers. And I did a voiceover for him there. But, I met him and, he said something that was really poignant. Essentially, when you have a screenplay, right, before PDFs and all that, what you essentially had was a stack of dirty typing paper. You know what I'm saying? And prospective producers would have to read that, in order to, make a decision as to whether or not they, are going to do your film. And sometimes the coverage that would come back on these things is like they were reading a different screenplay or story altogether. You're like, what in the world? But he showed me his book that he had. And it was, basically a portfolio where he had like a piece of art and some character designs and a paragraph about what it is. He says, over here, your screenplay is a stack of dirty typing paper. But this right here, in fact, let me show you something if I have it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. But he showed me this, something akin to this. So on one hand, you have a piece of art. That's the character, okay? But over here, you have, a brief description and you have character designs underneath. And he says, what this is a property. You see what I'm saying? That's something that lives and breathes and has visual value. And so because of that, I said, so that's what I need to do, because I don't own Underworld. So I started creating properties, and graphic novels or comic books is how you establish your property. Because at that point, you are no longer just a screenwriter or a producer. Now you are a creator. You see what I'm saying? And that makes you infinitely more valuable, not only to whoever, but also yourself in terms of what you can put out there in the creative space and out there, excuse me, to the public. So that's what I set out to do. And we're in that, that lay the foundations of what eventually became Darkstorm Comics and Astounding Comics, which is my more all ages, so to speak, imprint, So, as, money and time allow, I put something up on Comixology, or I have a lot of things on my computer, which I haven't released yet. But all that's done in effort to create my own universe and my own space for my own creativity. So I can be, once again, self-sufficient and not have to rely on getting jobs from Marvel and DC or whatever, even though I love those characters.
Gotcha. I want to ask you to speak directly to the young Black we're getting on. I feel like in the 90s, early 90s, along with Milestone, you had an insurgent of a bunch of tons of Black indie creators, and everybody wanted to come out with a comic book. And I don't know that if that was because of Milestone or just because it was just the times, but now, there's a lot more inspiring Black artists, and everybody that grabs a pencil, a crayon, or something they want to make a comic book, and a lot of things that aren't always up to snuff. What would be your biggest thing that you would say to this up and coming artist? Hey, I want to, hey, you know, I'm tired of Marvel doing this to the characters, or DC. I want to create my own comic. What is the biggest, best advice that you can give to these artists out here?
Ooh, man.
I left it wide open.
Yeah. That's a broad question. But you know, if I speak about what a creator needs to do, most ain't gonna like my answer. You know, because it's gonna take a lot of thinking and realization as to what this actually is. Like I told you guys before, one of my biggest regrets, in fact, my biggest regret, is that I did not keep up my artwork. Because if you're a writer and you have to depend upon an artist to draw your book, not only can it get expensive, but you might not ever get your pages. And I've worked with a lot of artists who I paid, never got my artwork. You know what I'm saying? Or it's substandard or whatever. There's also the reality that it's hard to pay someone, an artist, at least in this country, a living wage in terms of getting a book out. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, it's just expensive. Who can afford, you know, $150, $200 a page? And not everyone gets funded using crowdfunding. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that I've realized when it comes to creating comic books and then also making money, if you are spending as an independent creator, if you are spending more than $162 a page for pencils, inks, colors, and letters, and in a 6-issue miniseries, let's say, you don't have at least a 5,000 unit sell through on issues 1 through 6 and a 2,000 unit sell through for your, you know, subsequent trade paperback, you're going to lose your shirt. You're not going to make any money. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention the fact that you have to have all that money on hand to not only get all those drawn, lettered, pencil, colored, whatever, but also printed. You see what I'm saying? That's a tremendous outlay. And who has that kind of money? You know, now you can try to crowdfund, and some people are getting funded that way. That's good if you can do it. But if you can't, how do you get this thing done? So my first thing in terms of advice, would be to learn how to draw your own stuff and letter and color. After that, see who's willing to work with you in terms of getting your stuff out there. You know what I'm saying? What are they willing to accept as a fee or whatever, back end, whatever the case may be, you know, but it's going to take a collaborative effort to get it out there if you just don't have the money. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know if that answers your question, but it's not an easy one.
It did. I think a lot of folks just say, hey, I think I could do this. And they just jump right in and they ask for a crowdfunding. They don't get it. And they're like puzzled. Like, are they throw out their issue number 1, but then, you know, we were talking about this in this group and it's not that great. And one of the first things they'll say is, oh, we got to just support black artists. It's like, you know, we want to support it. But I think that for me, I think a lot of independent artists should allow other people to take a look at it first, proofread it, and it out. And
no doubt.
I think people allow things in their head to say, "Oh, I like it, so everybody else will." And it just really doesn't work like that. But I don't want to stay on that.
You know, there is a lot of that, but I also think too that a lot of brothers are of the mindset that, hey, look, you know, as long as it's black, that's all it needs to be. As long as it's black, you know, support it. Other times, I think, you know, looking at what they're thinking, it's like, it's either I get it done in some shape, form, or fashion, regardless of how good it is, or I never do anything. And people have a creative outlet that they're going to, that they have to, or they feel they have to give voice to. And so I'm not going to fault them for that. One of the things I try to do to show my support is that when I go to these various conventions all over the country, before we shut down, I would try to take $20, right? Maybe 30, and buy independent books. You know what I'm saying? They're $5 a piece. I might only get 4, or if I'm spending, $30, I might get 6. You know what I'm saying? But, you go around, and what I try to do is support the effort. You know what I'm saying? Because, it takes a lot to get from, that idea in your head to actually laying something down and getting it printed. Now, making it good, even though it can be subjective, that's going to be another hurdle. But my thing is to be there at least as a brother's trying to support other brothers or whoever it is. Let them know that people are watching and there is a light at the end of that tunnel. You know what I'm saying?
I had a question about the distribution side of it, of things. Because, when you mentioned like the 70s and growing up in the 70s and stuff like that. And I remember getting into comics as a kid, and my dad, going down to the local bodega on the corner and getting it out the spin rack. It was easier to get comics as a kid back in the day. Specialty shops for comics aren't as frequent or available in some parts of the country as it is in others. And I'm curious as to how, you all made the decision to get that deal with Walmart to send out your Bass Reeves book. Because I thought that was brilliant, is that you getting it out there to the masses in a way that's just kind of old school. How did that come about?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you'd have to ask Mitch Breitweiser and Elizabeth Breitweiser, because they're the ones who got that deal. I came aboard to write a book that they wanted to do, and they weren't necessarily sure about, of the direction at all. But they pulled essentially a coup getting that deal. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know the details of it. I will tell you this much, that when it comes to getting your work in a retail store like that, there is most likely a stocking fee. You know what I'm saying? And, my father was in supermarket retail at the executive level, and he owned a chain of supermarkets at one time. And when he told me that, I had no idea, but it makes sense, that you have a product. Well, you have to make a deal with the retailer. There is a buy-in to even get on the shelves. You know what I'm saying? And do you even have the money for that? And so it's difficult. What I've found is that, like, for a couple of things I'm coming out with that I'm going to crowdfund, I'm going to take a couple of chances and give some books away for free. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people can't take that hit. But I would say, I think you have to, as an independent creator, just to get the word out. Like, let's say you take the top 20 retail outlets, right? Take the top 20, and then you take 200 books and give away 10 to each of those retail outlets and see what they do. And you could give, 10 to Amazon, 10 to Mile High Comics, some other retail outlets, and maybe take the top, the other top comic book stores. And so at least it's available, across the country, and, see what they do. Now, they might take them, they might not, but, that's oftentimes the price of admission. And like I said, all of this is my opinion. Everyone's going to have to make that decision for themselves, but that's what I found.
Well, man, that's a lot of good information. A lot of good information. So just a couple more questions for you, man.
Yeah. No problem at all.
These last three gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
So we talked about, you get into the industry, your background,
Yeah.
really hit it hard with Blue Marvel, got a lot of secretive information there, and I thought that was fantastic. What are some projects or some future projects that you can give us a sneak peek on, or about things that you might be working on currently?
Okay.
During COVID
Okay,
season.
so okay, so
Let's get the buzz out there for you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be directing my first film at the end of the year. It's called King of Killers, and it's starring Elaine Moussi. And basically, it's about a contest between the world's greatest assassins.
Yeah.
It kind of like a last man standing kind of contest. Okay, so it's going to be full of gunplay, knives, martial arts. You know what I'm saying?
I love every word you just
that's
said.
Gonna be fun. Yeah, so that's gonna be fun. I have one book coming out. I don't know if I can share it with you or not.
Of course you can.
Computer?
Yeah, let me see if I can place an image in the chat and you can download it.
Oh, I can share. Well, I don't know if you want to share your screen, but
No.
yeah, so you can put it in the chat, and then I'll download and post it up there. Or you can send it. I'll tell you the best way to probably do it is send it to me in Messenger.
In Messenger.
I can get it, yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see.
But while you I'm about to say while you working on that, man, there's one thing that always bothered me. You back when I used to watch bothered me in a good way. But back when I was watching Young Justice, and you were Black Beetle, I believe.
Yes.
Your voice in that, man, because nobody on that squad could ever beat you. So every time you would dish it out, you'd be like, meat. You worthless meat. I used to get pissed because here's this guy that effortlessly just wipes them, and all he can say is meat. I mean, you obviously had a dialogue, but when you would just basically say y'all suck, basically. So I used to really, really, really make me mad. But I said, all right, it's all good.
Yeah. I mean, I do what they tell me. I also wound up writing an episode of Young Justice this past year too.
Really?
Yeah. In the 4th season, I think. So I don't know if it's aired yet.
I gotta catch up.
Yeah.
I gotta catch up. I know that they're talking about doing a Blue Beetle movie. That's not a secret.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that it's been optioned, or they said they was going to do it or whatever, but we'll see.
Javi Reyes version.
Yeah, Javi Reyes version. So the version that obviously you're familiar with.
Okay, now is it going to be live action or is it going to be animated?
I think it's live action.
I say the way it kind of read was to sound like it was going to be live action, but we all know DC kills it with animation. They kill it, every time.
Yeah, I don't know why Marvel has not been able to keep up. I don't know, and they had a chance. Like I thought, I'm going to say I was somewhat disappointed with those 8 animated movies they did back in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
they did Iron Man, Young Avengers, Yeah. But I will say this.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I did like Earth's Mightiest Heroes though.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was good.
It was a lot of roles. Like I didn't know you were a part of Star Trek at all. Didn't know that.
Yeah, but you know what though, man? I was doing extra work then. That was different. That's a real job. It kept food on it kept food on the table.
I remember that because I'm a big Trekkie, man. I remember you were like the equivalent of a red shirt.
Yeah. Only I never died. But you know what?
Right.
They did wind up giving me a name on a series of Star Trek cards
Oh,
I
that's
think
good.
it was I think I was Lieutenant Taylor, something like that.
And you had hair.
Oh yeah. I had hair then, you know. I got hair now, but it's gray.
That's what's up. You know, obviously we all remember you from Stargate, Speed.
Oh man.
I remember you from Batman Forever as being a part of with Harvey Dent.
Harvey Two-Face. Yeah.
So that was great. Frankenstein, you know, obviously was, you know, for me, it was a great movie. I mean, I really appreciated it, loved it. Underworld. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something about your role in Underworld, man. But it's something special when you write the story and you star in it. Like you stand out because you know how it's supposed to go. But I'm saying your role that you played, like as the Lycan, like you were angry. You were about when you had your mindset. You were like angry, even if they was on your team. You like what? What did you say? Like you were. You had in that role was
yeah, man. You know, originally it was supposed to be a bigger role, but you know, as I was writing it and as the other writers came in, man, it started to get too big, and that started to be, you know, premier villain, and I was worried about them. Like, okay, well, I'm a newcomer, you know, even though I wrote the original screenplay. It's like they're gonna get LL Cool J or some other guy to come in and play this role.
Right.
And fortunately, that didn't happen. So it was a balancing act there, you know, not to make it too big, make it just big enough or just cool enough. And it was cool, man. It was fun. Really fun.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
When you're ready to promote your stuff, let us know.
Yeah, man.
I definitely will.
Yeah, we'll bring you back on, man. We'll help you push it, man, and get it out there. I'm gonna go grab
Okay.
As well. I'm in the Orlando area. Somebody told me it's a particular Walmart that has a lot of them. So I'm gonna go down there and buy me some more.
Okay, good.
The Bass Reeves 3.
Bass Reeves 3. And it
Yeah. Just came out. Just came out.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yeah. We gonna
check the
comment. Yeah, man. So you're the reason why the Blue Marvel comic. I mean, granted, you created it. So if you're the reason why it's spikes up, so be it. But
you know, man. Okay, the only but you know, the reason I say that is because he hadn't been prominent enough to warrant that spike. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, when I think he went into the Ultimates, maybe I can't even remember. I just remember that, you know, there was a low print run and it was affordable, even though he was already in the Mighty Avengers and I think the Ultimate had already come out. But when I started that, you know, buying like I did, I really think that's what spiked it. And then people went to look for it and they couldn't find it. And it happened in such a short period of time that, you know, I think it had to be an algorithm thing. Yeah, and now, I guess it's just, I guess it's justified because of now he's in the news a lot now. You know, will they bring in Adam Brashear? You know, is the Blue Marvel going to make it? I don't know. You know, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, my hopes is he's going to pop up on Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 5. There's supposed to be a big reveal there.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I know you know. You just want to see what we know, but I know you know something. We ain't gonna push.
I'm trying to be subtle.
Yeah. You know, man. Not everything is what it seems, though. You know, that's one of the things that I've learned. And in this industry, things can change like that. So, you know, you know, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. You still trying to pull up that the image?
No, I sent it to your, you know, on Messenger.
Let me see if I got that boy.
Yeah. I was very fortunate that I got your entire Blue Marvel run when it first came out.
Oh, good.
But I unfortunately I only bought the one copy of the run. Too much to my.
Oh, really? Yeah.
All right, so I'm about to go ahead and share my screen. And at first glance, man, the artwork is outstanding. So here's what it looks like. It's Airman.
Yeah.
Hold up. Let me we'll stop sharing. Go back to it again one more time. I clicked off of it. All righty. Go back. All right, here we go. Can you see it now?
That will be out. Yeah, that will be out later this year.
Who did that artwork?
Essentially, his name is Kanan White.
You got Kanan White to do it?
Yeah, and he's going to be doing the series.
Oh wow! We were just talking about him last week.
Yeah, man, and it's about a Tuskegee Airman who becomes a superhero and an astronaut as well, and has a outer space accident and becomes a superhero, and he's still operating today. I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be a cool, exciting book that is going to really get back into, good, solid superhero action and heroism, that, is a hallmark of these characters that we've loved so much over the years. So, that's cool. It's going to be cool. And then I may be able to share this with you too. Now, I can't tell you.
I'm going to pre-order that as soon as it's available, so you let us know.
Okay, I will. I promise. And then I have this other one to share with you.
Man, that looks like a hit, man. I get a little bit of
well, Lord willing.
Tuskegee Airman turned superhero. I mean, you had me at that.
Yeah, you got me caught up with that one already. All right.
Yeah, and this is going up as a free comic book on Comixology soon. And let me see what I can find you.
But it will be a floppy, but it'll probably be a floppy in the fall?
Yeah, that would be a floppy. And but I'm gonna share something else with you. I'm trying to find the actual cover.
Dion Donovan says, as an Air Force veteran, this is too cool to pass up.
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of people.
Okay, good.
A lot of people are saying appreciations. Thank you, congratulations. The whole nine, all love here, man. You got an HU grad in here too, Ben Davis. HU grad.
Yo, hey, thanks a lot, bro.
Yo, man, I gotta ask too, man. Did you always have that iconic voice?
I mean, when do people's voices change in puberty? So, I guess. Yeah. Well, you know what, man? You know what I'm going to tease? I can't find a cover right now, but I will tease this image.
And you're free to post that stuff up on our page anytime you want, man.
That's the way, man.
Okay, let me give you this one. And it's done by here. How do I describe this brother? One of our brightest stars. Ready?
Yep. All right, I got it. Let me put it up here. Oh wow, that's not. I've seen this guy. I've seen this one before. Let me blow it up. Share screen. There we go. Yeah, I've seen this character before.
Yeah, okay. That's my character, Darkstorm.
Darkstorm, yeah.
And that's the one I hope to get made into a movie, animated series.
Did Marcus Williams?
Yeah, Marcus Williams did that one. Ooh. And so we have some stellar news coming out soon. So
y'all better jump in this book. Man.
I'll let you guys know.
But number one hasn't dropped for Dark Storm.
No. But I'm gonna put out a free origin issue, a brief origin issue on Comixology.
Okay.
And on my website, to get you guys ready for what will come out probably later this year or next year as a primer for something larger. So I can't talk about everything right now, but
so when you're ready to do the pre-orders on that, drop it over here so we can get those orders in for you.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
We gotta get that going.
Yes, sir. In fact, let me see what else I can share with you that you might dig. Let me see.
Yeah, Marcus Williams. He's a heavy. He's another one that probably should. I don't know why he. I mean, I don't know. Some people just want to keep their independence and stuff like that. And
I mean, it's hard to when you see what a corporate comics is actually like. It can be a little disconcerting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, how do I say this? It's kind of like seeing the man behind the curtain, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And you might not necessarily like what you see.
Right.
And that can oftentimes be, somewhat problematic. But yeah, that's just the way it goes.
And shout out to you for getting Kanan White to work on your Airman book. That brother's an incredible talent.
He is.
Oh, yes, he is. I've been trying to work with him for quite some time. And I'm glad we finally were able to bring him aboard. And let me see. This is image I can show. Oh, wait, hold on. It's an image I can show you.
After we check this one out, we got one last question for you, and that'll be it from us, man. At least for round one, man. We definitely have you back on in the future, man. That'll be awesome.
Okay, cool. Excellent. But look, I'm glad you guys invited me on the show, man. It's always good to be on these shows, these podcasts, you speak to the fans and brothers who really love comics, the genre. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. When I reached out to you, I was like, well, the worst he could do is say no or just don't respond. So I'm glad you responded, man. So that was cool.
We literally had that conversation like 2 weeks ago. Like, it'd be really cool to get Kevin Grevioux on here. And we're like, nah, that's
yeah. Yeah. And by the way, my name is Grevioux.
Grevioux.
Yeah. If we were in France, you guys would be on the money.
Gotcha, man. Apologies, man. Apologies for that.
Don't worry about it. This image here was drawn by a brilliant artist named Geoffrey Gwynn out of Alabama. Really talented brother. And he'll be doing some work on my Darkstorm book as well.
Sweet. Yeah, that's a good word. That's how it's done, man. Richard, you got anything? Oh,
it'll be fun.
Richard, you got anything else?
I will ask a question. Going back to your all ages comics that you have on your website. One of the issues and passions that I have is getting young kids into comics. Because I don't see Marvel or DC or Image or any other major companies making that real investment. Yeah. And so I wanted to ask, what is your thoughts or your takes on comics not easily accessible to young kids, particularly young Black kids? Do you have any thoughts as to how we could address that in the community?
That's a multifold question, because there are three major teaching entities for, young kids. And that's first the parents, then it's school, and now it's becoming the internet, and maybe you could pop a fourth one in there, friends. But, first I think parents have to be willing to give their kids these things to read. Like when we were growing up, my mother, if my mother wanted us to read, she would put stuff in front of us or make them available, take us to the library, and so if comic books were available at more places, that would help. Also, like through Scholastic. But here's the thing, Scholastic might only take things from Marvel or DC, not from the independents who are really going to create things that we want our children to see. So let's say you do have, Black superheroes or what have you. Well, what do you have to do to get into Scholastic? You got to move heaven and earth, and so you're going to say there has to be an easier way. I also think too, with the material, it used to be that no matter what the comic was, barring underground comics, all comics were all ages and suited for everyone from 6 to 60. Now it's not the case. Now you have books that are hyper violent, hypersexual, have all this cursing. It's like, you have to read the book before your kid reads it now. And it didn't used to be that way. So, they're going to have to a lot in terms of getting appropriate books into these kids' hands through schools, the parents, the libraries, and make them available on the internet. And maybe, like, one of the things that I do know that does happen is that a lot of parents come to these conventions as like a family outing. And so I think it's incumbent upon, all of us as creators to have a set of all ages books that the kids can walk away with. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That, the parents like, what's at your table? There for a reason. Hey, I have this nice little book, for your son or your daughter. Maybe they might like a copy, That's my feeling anyway. Yeah.
Gotcha. One last question. I guess with the body of work that you've done and what you continue to do, what would you like your legacy to be known? When people talk about Kevin, the artist, the writer, the creator, what do you think of your legacy in regards to that? Or is that an open?
Yeah. You know what, man? Just that I was a brother who tried, who tried to do his thing. That's all, Okay. I don't think I can get too philosophical or existential, but that's about it.
Okay. That's good enough for me.
Respect.
Right.
Herschel?
Well, man, thank you for your time tonight. I know you could have been eating with your wife and enjoying your Easter Sunday and mellowing out.
Still will.
hanging out with a bunch of knuckleheads.
Hey, look, the Lord still reigns in this house. So
That's right. That's right. Amen to that.
Okay. So I just appreciate you for coming on and just answering the call, man. I mean, you guys are a lot of things ahead of you. So we definitely want to hear back from you. Whatever you need to, you want to drop something on the group, man. We'll be doing lives. We are going to ask for you to come on again. I'm gonna tell you right now, if Blue Marvel shows up in any capacity on any of these little crazy shows, I'm gonna lose my mind. And if your ear starts ringing, we're gonna talk about that. Okay, just so you know. I'm gonna be a blessing, man. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. Appreciate you so much.
Anytime, brother.
Thank you, man.
Anytime, man.
Bless up. Bless up.
All right.
Take care.
Peace. All right, man. Out. Okay.